This is the Happy Weight Podcast. My name is Aoife Dean, and today I am joined with Trisha Norton. Woo! I feel I should have said all of that in Irish because we're recording this on Paddy's Day before we go to the parade.
Yeah.
So is Misha Aoife ní Egan agus in Acolum tá Trisha ní Norton Oni.
No. A Pádraigín ní Nachtan is anam dom.
What?
Little Patrick, yeah, that's what my name is.
Your name is Little Patrick?
Yeah, Pádraigín, yeah.
The Irish for Trisha is Pádraigín?
Yeah.
I feel you should be bringing stuff up like that.
I just realised it's my day.
It's your day. I'm like, that's funny. That's funny. You've a claim to today, I think, just like I claim Breed's Day.
I should really get to the front of the parade.
Let's just do that. Let's just
abandon this.
Like find where the front is and join in.
Just walk at the front.
Just elbow a few kids in the face or something. But yes, we are also here because I think at the end of the last series, I did a bit of an overshare episode. Well, it wasn't an overshare at all, but I think I'm kind of private enough when it comes to work stuff. And I suppose I talked about my own experience with gaining weight and binge eating disorder and bulimia and stuff like that. And now I think it's tradition to end a series on an overshare. So I brought Trisha with me because Trisha's good at getting information out of me.
I am.
And calling BS on things too.
Yeah.
But yes, so basically, two of my passions and two of the big things that I bring into my work with all of my clients is, first of all, nutrition and, weight stuff. So I had life experience with that. I had a horrible, lonely road of binge eating disorder, gaining 3 stone, all of that. So that was what we were chatting about in that other episode. But the other part of my work that's equally super important to me and what I really, really have a huge intention to bring across to my clients is the power of our mind and the power of self-hypnosis, and how that the thoughts that we tell ourselves repetitively can manifest into something very real life. And the reason I'm so passionate about that is because maybe you don't like the word manifestation. Maybe you think everything that happens to you in your life is luck and chance. But I truly believe we bring a lot of stuff in by ourselves. And I think I managed to manifest this chronic autoimmune disease called ulcerative colitis. And I'm 36 now. I've had it since the age of 20. And I believe I manifested that from repetitive negative thinking about what food does to my body. So, okay, I feel I need a break from talking. Right. Anything to say so far, Trisha?
So what were the thoughts that were happening?
So I don't think I'm exceptional on this front in terms of generally when people start a diet, when they break the diet, like as in say you've made the plan to stick to the diet today, and then at 4 p.m. you eat something that's not on the diet. You give out to yourself, and you give out to yourself a lot. Then that can kind of snowball where the more you're trying to diet, the more you're failing at it, the more you give out to yourself. So the stories can become a bit elaborate. So people can be like, this is why you'll always be fat. This is why you're so worthless. And other people have willpower. Like, what's wrong with you? And so that really, really snowballed for me. And I started dieting at 11. And so the other angle I used to take to try and motivate myself was that that is so bad for you. Like, that is so bad for you. Do you know how much fat is in that? Do you know how much salt is in that? And I've always had a very active imagination. I still do. And yet again, that has brought many blessings and many curses. Like, there's been a lot of things that I visualized in advance. And here I am in that office now. And, like loads and loads of things, but also equally bad stuff. So for whatever reason, possibly because I was so young as well, like I was only 11. So if you're growing up in a world where everyone's saying it's bad for you, I don't know why, but my teeny tiny brain always imagined that as the food rotting my insides. So I used to visualize my guts breaking down. And the other thing about, say, being a kid is you think how you think is how everyone thinks. So I remember the first time I probably told my sister Yvonne that or something. And I was like, And I remember, I think I told...
this is a fact.
Yeah, and I'm sure I said that to you as well sometime. Like, it's like, yeah, I just like Annie. And like, it got worse then kind of as the teenage years went on in college. Like, if we got a takeaway or anything like that, I was like, oh, that's like rotting your insides. Like, it's actually rotting your stomach, rotting your gut. And it was really extreme. Like, as in, I literally, as I'm saying all of this, I know the images. Like, I know the movie I'd watch of my intestines and stuff breaking down. So then what isn't surprising to me at all now is that one day that happened. One day my kind of a huge part of my digestive system covered itself in ulcers, and my body decided to attack it. My body decided to attack my gut like it was a foreign object. And like, it's still so weird because even I was with a new consultant that I'm under now in CUH just the other week. And, basically with every doctor you have, they'll explain stuff in a different way. And she was like, yeah, it's just your body thinks that your gut doesn't belong there and wants to get it out, kind of thing. Like, she said it in some real like basic but like kind of shocking way, because you're like, what is going on? Like, why does my body want to do that? Like, and that's the weird thing about autoimmune diseases. And, they don't totally have the answer to immune diseases. Like, as in, like I was telling you there, like, as in, I'll be going on even stronger meds to suppress my immune system. It's like, that's the answer. They like, I'm doing everything I can with diet all the time. But it's not really about that as such. You know what I mean? They can't really find an absolute straight definite answer with diet either in it. So like it's just a bit crazy. So I'm just kind of like, that's why I think people are a bit like, sure, calm down, like crisps are bad, like they are bad. Do you know what I mean? Like, isn't that's the language everywhere you go. It's just kind of like, the naughty stuff, the bad stuff, whatever. And like, sometimes it probably seems like I'm too emotional about not using the words good food and bad food, but that's why. Like, the language you use is profound, and the thoughts you think. And if you're really having this belief about a food, that is going to do something to you. That's not good. It's kind of like there's all those placebo studies in terms of they get a group of people to touch this thing that they've told them is poison ivy. And for 50% of the group, it actually isn't poison ivy. It's a totally normal, safe leaf. And some of those people will get the same reaction on their body as if it was poison ivy. So I'm like, if there's any truth in any of the thousands upon thousands of placebo studies where if your mind believes it, it's true. Sure, even stuff like with panic attacks and stuff like that, we could be in a totally safe environment, but maybe because of some old memory or something, our mind thinks we're in danger. So we'll sweat or our heart will race or whatever. It's like, reality doesn't matter. It your perception of reality is the most important thing. So that's why I kind of really work in the whole area of your mindset, what you're doing with your thoughts. And
you went back and trained in hypnosis.
Yeah, I have 2 diplomas in hypnosis, and I just kind of think I just kind of think, say, maybe going to a hypnotherapist, of course, they can do amazing things. Like, I think most people will know someone who's quit smoking from going to a hypnotherapist once. Like, it's magic stuff. But also, I think we need to take accountability for all the other waking hours in our week and our year. And like the repetitive thoughts, like, you are not your thoughts. But we need to create that separation of like, what are you listening to all day? Like, what is going on in your mind? What are you saying to yourself? Because like, obviously with the clients I'm working with, it's less about gut issues. Well, it's rarely about gut issues actually, but it is about their strong beliefs about their fatness. Strong, repetitive thoughts.
But what's interesting though is like, little 11-year-old you didn't know what she was thinking at the time, and that's like, how do we move from that place to an awareness place, you know, like how do we begin to become aware? Because it's so, like, you know, when we're not aware that not everything we think is a fact, we believe that everything we think is a fact.
Yeah.
We're just like, well, that's true because I've thought it.
Yeah.
But it's how do we start to build in that awareness?
But I think it's kind of education, isn't it? Because you can't do something you don't know. And like, what was the first thing that educated you on kind of that you have thoughts and you choose the thoughts? What do you think was the first thing you came across?
I think I can't remember what it was, but I remember I was in extreme like mental turmoil. I think that it was just like a mixture of so many different things in my brain. My brain was like on overdrive, and I think going to maybe my first therapist, maybe, and that awareness being brought in. But I definitely read a lot of self-help books before that. But even then, you're like, okay, yeah, that's not a pink elephant, but like I am unlovable. Do you know, like,
yes.
Like, there are things you're like, okay, fair enough. Some things are not facts, but like some things literally are facts, though, right?
Yeah.
Like my gut is literally rotting. Or
yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know, like, you know, whatever the thought is, I feel so true because it's been there so long.
Yeah, I know. Because that's the whole thing. Like, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So it starts with a kind of hypothesis. You're like, do I have a low metabolism? Like, can other people lose weight quicker than me? Like, it starts off with the kind of question.
Yes.
And then you go off collecting evidence. And then you go repeating that in your mind, repeating the kind of experiences. And then before you know it, it's just hard fact that you have a wonky metabolism and therefore are less well off than other people when it comes to weight or health.
I know. When I was doing my life coaching diploma and also Louise Hay courses, there was a lot of that. Affirmations.
Like, she's the queen of it, really, isn't she?
She, like, her whole methodology really spun me down the direction of like affirmations and clearing out negative beliefs, and it was incredibly powerful. And I even forget it because it's so simple.
I know.
But like, you know, even when I trained in yoga, one of the things that they talk about is the koshas, which is the 5 bodies. And, you know, what comes from the higher mind or the spiritual place comes into the subconscious mind. And then the subconscious mind, when it gets denser, then goes into the mental body. And then when it gets denser, then it goes into the physical body, you know, and the emotional body, and then the physical body. And so that's kind of the idea that Louise Hay spoke about, was that illnesses are psychosomatic. They're not only psychosomatic in that, like, they have an emotional or mental relation to it. But it can be top down or bottom up. So like, if you feel something in your body, it can impact your mental health and your emotional health and your spiritual health. But also, if you have a mental process going on, a thought process going on, it can actually affect your emotional health and your physical health. And that's what you're saying about the ulcerative colitis, is that you had a thought process that impacted how you felt, that literally manifested, then went denser into the body then again. And so, but we do have the ability then to, because we have the ability to create that, we have also the ability to undo that.
Well, this is the thing. And like, I genuinely don't believe it will be with me for life. I genuinely don't. And I also am doing far better than any doctors or consultants or whatever would expect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, sometimes when, say, my readings or whatever, like my blood results or whatever, do say there's a lot of inflammation, they're like, but do you not feel terrible? Like, as in, do you know, like they're like, you know, basically I think I should be feeling very different or looking very run down or whatever, but I'm not, you know what I mean? But I'm like, it's been kind of absolutely invaluable to me and to my work with clients, because the thing is, I would say a lot of nutritionists and dietitians are prone to this. You go into it with a very simplistic mind. You're like, everyone needs to cop on and like eat fruit and vegetables. And it's like, just cop on, just do it. You know what I mean? And I'm like I can't always do that. Like, I can't always, eat all the veg and all the fruit that I want. So it's like, that's an amazing theory, but practically I will be in a lot of pain or in the loo all day. So it's kind of like, so, you know, me, if I was in a kind of like screw my body mood, like for me that would be having like a load of broccoli and garlic or like a load of root veg, because I know my body will not be happy with that, you know, and I'll have to suffer the consequences. But that's my screw you body, I'm going to do this anyway kind of thing. So it's given me a lot of empathy and understanding. And the more I work with clients, you know, the more, which is the beautiful thing about life, is that we are all extremely different. We're all on our own journey. Our exact answers are not out there. You're not going to find them in a book. And same diet-wise, you know, sometimes you get, especially on social media, you get vegan and vegetarian stuff thrown down your throat, like in terms of content-wise, and people being made feel guilty if they do eat meat and fish and stuff like that. And that's just very, very unfair on like a lot of people who are unwell. Because I know for me, if I have a flare up, something like white fish or something like boiled chicken or something like that, that will actually keep the life in me. Like that will, like, thank God I don't really have bad flare ups anymore. But just in terms of like people with gut issues, sometimes a nice little bit of like white protein foods can be very easy to digest and absorb. And without them, and if you had to just rely on fruit and veg, that mightn't go so well. Like even one of my clients, 2 days ago, she was kind of saying, you know, bananas give her heartburn. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, which is very challenging then if you're a person trying to follow a diet and they're like, eat that, it's good for you, it causes weight loss. And it's like, there might be things that, you know, they don't suit you. Like they don't. It's not about quote unquote good foods and bad foods. All foods have different aspects to them and they mightn't all suit you or be your thing. And that's very, very important to listen to. And that was another thing, like when like I started the kind of IBS, IBD journey, you know, I was it's very elusive because it's like it always felt like when you're like, right, I'm gonna sort it out. Yeah. It's like your body rebels and gets worse. Like that has happened to me. That like I don't do that approach anymore. But like that would always happen. And you know, is really counterintuitive sometimes because say there's the FODMAP diet, which is, you know, amazing for a lot of people. You do it with a FODMAP trained dietitian. What's that? It's kind of an exclusion diet where you cut everything out initially and then slowly add stuff in. But like all of that stuff was just really toxic because of my history of an eating disorder.
Yeah, it would amplify the need to control and eliminate and make things bad and good.
Exactly. Yeah. And then binge, like, you know, so that's why I'm kind of like, with my clients, I'm like, just assume your mind is broken in this department. Yeah. Don't ever ask your mind about its opinion on food. Ever. Because it will always be the same answer. You know, it will always find some negative about the food. And the more diets you've done, and if you have had IBS, you've done all the IBS diets too, and then there's literally nothing left because that cuts out a lot, like a different IBS diet will cut out a different selection of fruit and veg. So then you're honestly left with nothing. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like
you know what's really interesting, and I know we were talking about this beforehand, but the attunement to your own body first, not mind, but body, you know, like, and I've had my own health stuff over the past few years, and that journey has led me to the fine-tune awareness of what consumption of like food, but also like people or places or like
it's
thoughts.
All diet really, isn't
it's
it?
all like the consumption. And so the impact that has, like, you know, even the times I need to go to sleep at, like how I need to sleep, what I need to do before I sleep, like it's like this real attunement to like, how has that impacted my body? How, you know, because nobody could tell me go to bed at like 1 a.m. and get up at like 2, you know, like 11 a.m. It just like my body would be like, fuck you. Yeah. You know you need to go to bed at half 9. Things are
going to go very wrong, very fast.
Yeah. And for someone else, that might be something completely different, you know, that might be fine for them. But I think it's the attunement to yourself, your own body, and coming out of the mind and into the body with the embodiment practice, you know, which can be often really hard because the body holds emotion too. And there's a lot of stuff there. But I think, as you say, there's I think there's an unfathomable amount of organic wisdom in the body that we have been locked out of because of our society. I think that we've been shoved too much information. We're too packed in our minds. We're too busy to be, you know.
I think we're very dependent as well. We're very dependent on an outside answer. It's kind of, you know what I mean? It's kind of almost, it's never your fault. It's never your job to figure that out. It's a professional's job to figure that out for you. And it's like, nah, it doesn't work that way.
It really doesn't work that way. And it also, what's really interesting is that it's your gut feeling about things. You know, that's a phrase for a reason, right?
There's a million of those phrases because they always go over that, like in lectures and stuff. Yeah. How many just in our vernacular phrases there are about our gut. Like we've always known it's the center of knowledge, you know, and now they've proven that in science that it's way more important than the brain.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because the brain is wired nearly, you know, it's like, I feel like the brain is like a sponge, whereas the gut is its own intellect, you know?
Yeah.
That it's like organic in the way that like the flower blooms in spring and the sun rises.
It's changing.
Well, not rises, but, you know.
Yeah.
It's that organic life energy that runs our bodies.
Yeah, and it's live. It's live. Yeah. It's literally trillions of microbes that, you know, are live.
Are working away.
Our little guys, yeah. But yeah, like I remember one time, I suppose I was in Edinburgh and you know, it's like, okay, right, these are the rules of kind of the IBS diet. Right, okay, you know, no gluten now. That's the end of gluten. And I went to that gluten-free section, which back in those days was teeny in Tesco or whatever. And I bought like all these like bars and cookies and muffins processed. And everything. And it was kind of like, I was still kind of struggling with eating at the time. So then it was kind of like, I know these are all like good. Like, you know, they're, you know, whatever. And it was like, you know, deep down I knew, I was like, okay, this is kind of going towards eating stuff I don't normally eat and is way more processed. And obviously like the celiac section is really important, especially for kids, so they're not excluded in parties and stuff like that. But ultimately, like the best, and you know, yet again, I don't have celiac disease and I'm sure it's very, very hard, but like as in the naturally occurring non-gluten foods, which there are loads of, would see you through just as well. But they were like absolute, like a million ingredients and stuff like that. And like say cutting dairy and, you know, then another diet was like you can't have carbs at all. And, you know, it was kind of like...
It's so confusing.
It was so confusing. Things. And my intuition was kind of saying like, really? You know, and then they'll be like, oh, you could eat loads of these, you'll get away with these won't have any problems with IBS. And it's like, wow, that really didn't go down well. You know what I mean? So it was such a kind of quagmire or whatever. Like it was just so kind of murky waters, kind of trying to find an outside solution.
Yeah, and so many people telling you then, and all those conflicting, you know, it's so confusing and overwhelming then for you to be like, oh my God, what is the right thing? If I'm picking parts from A, B and C, then, you know, it's all confusing. Like, I get it. Like, it's really hard.
But like why I'm grateful is basically like that just understanding of that we are all very different. Do you know what I mean? And you can't be judgmental. You can't say there's one specific answer, you know. And also I suppose the other side of it was being on meds. Like, and like say I'm on steroids at the moment, like I'd be on steroids quite often and stuff like that. And then, you know, like I said, obviously it's all to do with the dose and duration and everything. But like, you know, sometimes I'd have clients that'd be like, well, obviously I'm really wildly overweight because of the steroids. And you're like, I'm on a higher dose than you. You know what I mean? Because I had to get over that battle initially first. The other way it made me open-minded is like, you know, having to take meds, because like I was saying with nutrition and stuff, and especially when I was younger and more naive, you know, it's easy to say fruit and veg will cure everything, but actually with ulcerative colitis, people like up as recently as the early 1900s, if you had it, you just died. So like, as in you can say all you want about the big pharmaceutical companies, but like I mightn't be here if it wasn't for them. So it's easy to have a very simplistic view. It's a bit like, say, when people get pregnant and they're kind of like, right, I can eat anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, maybe we don't notice we're doing it, but sometimes there can be a little bit of us involved in, say, like, oh, I went on the pill, I put on weight. Oh, I went on a steroid, I put on weight. Because I've caught myself doing that so many times. Like, even actually recently, like on the pill, I was kind of like, oh, geez, I think I'm feeling a bit bigger because of the pill. And then I was like, okay, Aoife, if it wasn't the pill, what might it be? I was like, I haven't done any exercise in 2 weeks and I had a load, like, you know, all week. I was like, could be that too. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you kind of have to look at what are the things that you may have done that have nothing to do with the medication. So that kind of understanding as well, I think, has been very helpful.
But like, it sounds like, you know, it's obviously a really, really tough thing to go through, but through the unlayering of it for yourself, like, you know, it's unlocked layers of empathy and understanding and passion for you, and then for everyone that comes to you, and knowledge, like wisdom. Really, wisdom is, I feel like, integrated knowledge, you know, that you don't just learn from a book, but you know in your heart and body and soul, like, you know, what's going on for you. Then you can use that wisdom with others. That's your medicine now. You know?
Exactly. And I suppose the other thing that it gave me experience with and then empathy for is like the worst part of it actually was the psychological. Because when I got it initially, you know, I was in college, and like, so basically I'll go into detail, but like a really upsetting breakup, really brokenhearted, even though I broke up with him. But it happened kind of immediately after that. So it's like, it's really weird. I suppose maybe it was my age, but basically the amount of food going out was not equal to the amount going in. Like, there was nothing really going out, and my belly would be like gurgling so much that I some days wouldn't go into college because I was so compacted, basically. Do you know what I mean? And then towards my second year exams in college, a switch flicked and it went the other way. And just like, I was just like literally going to sleep at night in the bathroom. And
God, that's so tough.
And it was during second year exams. And the thing is that we were going from second year exams to a month's work placement in a hospital in the Highlands to Spain for the summer, me and my friends. So it was all like back. I don't think I was even home in between those things. And so I lost like a stone within, like, you know, and that was at my highest weight. Like that's when like my weight was like spiraling and out of control, and I was just getting gradually, steadily bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I lost like, you know, a stone or something in like a week or two. So, I was mad. But, you know, all of that would have been like glycogen in water as well. But like, then like I was just getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier through all of Spain. And sure, obviously, you know, like as someone who wanted to lose weight for ages, was like, not bad. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in there was perks of it because I saw everything with new eyes. So basically, when you're obsessed with weight, there's this sabotage game you play of like, fuck it, I'll sabotage my results and like eat everything. And like I couldn't hold weight. Like, as in no matter what I was eating, it was running through me and I was losing weight. And
nutrition, you know, your body was losing all that.
Oh
nutrition.
yeah. And I'll come on to that, but like so, you know, it was so weird to watch, but I'd have all these kind of reactions, like a bad feeling or something happened or whatever, and I'd be like, right, what binge will I do? And then it'd be like, Aoife, you could have this binge, but you're not sabotaging anything. It's not going to. So it was from that I realized that it's like, it's a sabotage game. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you can't deal with the emotion. So instead you'll say like, oh, I'll fuck up my plan of losing weight. Whereas I no longer had a plan of losing weight. I had lost the weight. So then that seemed like a really weird thing to do. It's kind of like, okay, I could go into the kitchen and fill my belly until I feel sick. But like, I still won't put on weight. And that won't kind of cause the emotional thing to fix.
Yeah.
So I could really start seeing it all for what it was. And I remember I got a voice in my head saying like, Aoife, the war is over.
Oh,
yeah, it was so weird. It was really weird.
It's really emotional.
I know I feel emotional saying it, but
Yeah.
like I literally remember standing in the sitting room of our apartment in Spain and walking in and being like, the urgent reactionary, let's go for the binge. And I'd be like, the war is over. Like, put down your weapons. Do you know what I mean? Oh my God, I could cry now too when you're watering up. But so that was all very kind of telling. And then, yet again, you're kind of, I suppose, you have a bit of a different mind when you're, that age maybe. And, I know from working in hospitals anyway, there's a difference between, say, cancer weight loss and someone eating healthy and going to the gym.
Yeah.
Like your body breaking down muscle and bone to survive is a very different look. Yeah. So fair enough, I was like I remember coming home and my friends joking, I looked like I was literally from Somalia, like as in I was so no. I think they meant both, but my skin colour, like all we did was sunbathe every day and then we worked in pubs at night. So I was beyond tanned. But then I was way slimmer, like, the bones of 2 to 3 stone.
Wow.
Lighter. But like I remember, I think one of my aunts took a photo or whatever, and this was before I had kind of got treatment, and my aunt was like to my mum, did you not notice, like, she looks
sick?
She looks sick. But anyway, mum shifted me off straight away to the bonds, and I got private healthcare immediately, diagnosed, put on a rake of steroids, which was its own little story then, because the weight came back, kind of, and I had moon face and I had all of that from the amount that I was on. But it, like I said, it had shown me a different side. Also, I think I kind of touched on it, but I was kind of saying that the psychological aspect of it all was the hardest. And so how that came about was because with the disorder, and especially in the early days, you might just need to go to the loo instantly, like not much of a warning. So that meant that like I used to get panic attacks if I was in a car and someone else was driving. I used to basically have a panic attack or have a racing heart the entire commuting to my work in London every morning. Like sometimes I'd get into work, and because I was so panicked being in the underground, because there's no toilets in the underground and potentially you're 15 minutes from a toilet in some of the underground stops. Basically depends on where the next McDonald's is. And that's another thing I suppose I have a bit more of a different angle on. I don't hate McDonald's maybe as much as some dietitians maybe do, because they're one of the only places that provide toilets for definite. So, but yeah, the panic attacks were quite bad, and I don't think I travelled maybe as much in my 20s as I wanted to, just because there was no point kind of battling the fear and anxiety. I know, say, flying back and forth to Edinburgh and England and stuff like that for college and work, like the most freaky time, and it doesn't really happen to me anymore, was when, you're taking off basically, and there's a 5-10 minute window. It sounds so crazy, I know. It's a 5-10 minute window where the toilets are locked and you definitely can't go. And this is another thing where I'm like, the power of your thoughts, and why, like, I really want to help people change their thoughts, because the power is immense. So in that kind of 5-10 minute, 15 minute window where the airplane toilet doors are locked, I would kind of get a panic attack, but also I actually would go from not needing to go to the loo to definitely needing to go to the loo. And I think that was all panic and stress. And so it was crazy. It had shown me a different side to the needless way I was approaching food. And I say that all the time now to my clients. It's like, you don't need to search for weight loss. You need to look at the things you're doing to keep this weight problem alive, to be keeping a weight problem in your day every day. Whether it's looking in the mirror and saying all this shit to yourself, or whether it's being like, go on now, I'll eat it all because I'll go off it tomorrow. Like all of these practices that we're doing.
Again, the thoughts.
That cause a lot of weight gain, cause a lot of weight gain behaviours of like, oh, I won't bother exercising now. I'm, kind of either it's, I'm being naughty and not exercising, or I'm going to hit it hard then next week. And, all these kind of erratic on and off, on the wagon, off the wagon kind of ways of kind of treating yourself. Not that it was all completely over. Do you know what I mean? I still I was slimmer for the rest of my eating disorder career, but I wasn't basically this weight with ease. You know what I mean? It was, yeah. So it was still bad, but it wasn't to the extent of before I got diagnosed. And the other thing to say, because this used to really annoy me, I remember I had a client and her sister had IBD, and she was like, well, sure, she could eat anything. She's got that. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. Like, I've been in enough waiting rooms to know that you can have a gut condition and be overweight. Like, as in, if you're being treated, you're being treated. Do you know what I mean?
I don't understand what you mean.
Well, like, so say if you had diabetes, right? And you were untreated, you'd lose loads of weight. But in today's world, you are treated. So that doesn't happen. But it's the same with if you have a gut condition. If you weren't on meds and if you weren't treated, yes, you might fade away to oblivion. But I'm under medical management, so I still could put on weight. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still could.
Oh, yeah.
I still could become obese. Like, and I do put on weight from time to time. But sometimes people, and I've always had a little bit of like imposter syndrome with that too. It's like, do people think that I'm only a healthy weight because I've got that illness? And like, that's not true. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know why I feel that's important to say, but like.
But like, I've lived with you. I've seen how you eat whatever your body, wants to eat, and you're like, nope, I've had my fill of meat now, or, like, I'm just on a cheese train. I'm just eating, like, all I want is cheese. And then you're like, I'm done with, it's really healthy. You're like, that's enough now. That's enough of my, I just feel like I need loads of greens. And sometimes you're like, I just need loads of chocolate or whatever it is. Like, it's a really lovely, I feel like you don't have like restrictions or like bad attitudes towards food unless your body was like, that's enough now.
Yeah.
And like listening intuitively like to your body in that way with food, but also with exercise, you're like, I just need a big long walk.
Totally.
I need to down tools and go for a long walk, or I need to go to the gym, or I need to go for a swim, or whatever it is. And it's like, I see that daily attunement.
Well, this is it. It's kind of like what my body says on the matter is literally the only thing I care about now. I don't care what top expert is saying what about what. I don't care. I'm like, I will be reading my body and responding to it. And that is a massive difference to when I had a weight problem. Because I think the biggest difference between having a weight problem and not is that you care how bad you feel. So like, as in, when I had a weight problem, it's like, oh, I've eaten, a packet of biscuits. Well, screw it now. I've ruined the day. I might as well eat more.
Yeah, but you just don't want to.
So it's kind of like you feel discomfort and you add to it and add to it and add to it. Whereas now I'm kind of like, I don't deserve to continue being in pain. And even like...
or your mood being affected, or feeling sluggish or tired, not being able to go be whatever energy with the people that you are going to hang out with or whatever,
Or enjoying food. Because you can't enjoy food if you're overfed. You can't. And there's studies to prove that the more overweight we get, like the more beyond our natural weight we get, the less people enjoy food. And I'm like, that's so believable because...
your body's done.
Yeah, your body, like if you were a cave person, there wouldn't be like crisps and biscuits and stuff that you can eat if you're not hungry. There'd be like raw carrots and whatever. And you'd be like, nah, I'm grand. And you drift back to your... body's natural weight. But we've a load of stuff that it doesn't really matter if you're really full, you can still pick away at them. Do you know what I mean? Whereas natural foods, you wouldn't bother. You just wouldn't really bother. But but I think that in food enjoyment is so important to me now, like so important, because even the other night I came home and fair enough, I was hungry and it was 10 o'clock and I made a toasted sandwich and it was an incredible toasted sandwich.
Was it
and
cheesy?
I hadn't, it was. And I hadn't made one in ages. And I suppose this is kind of part of my personality too.
Yeah.
So I was quite full.
Yeah.
And but then I was like, so it's kind of that old situation that one was too little, two was too much. And I only realised afterwards. So it wasn't like sabotaging self-hate or anything. It was just a genuine mistake. You know what I mean? I was too full. And then I was staying at my parents' that night and I wanted to kind of see Mum, and hang out with her and have a cup of tea or have breakfast with her. But I knew I wasn't hungry. So like I noticed for me, like I'll get away with maybe 1-2 times of like eating a meal when I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
Before I start feeling like
Shit.
Yeah, basically, and like all food enjoyment goes.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, this is the whole thing. We make the same mistakes. We learn the same lessons over and over again. And just kind of, yet again, maybe part of my personality, I headed for another toasted sandwich for breakfast. And I
You're like, I really enjoyed that last night.
like, yeah, so I upped the ante this time, which is a really bad idea. Like I added way more onions.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just saying now, having onions and
For
a load of them
breakfast.
for your breakfast
Jeez.
is so good.
Your body's still like up to the neck with grilled cheese from the night before. Like, oh God.
But then I was like, oh, I'll have another one. So
For breakfast, you had 2 again.
I do again. So then I was like, I was kind of,
Something's not right.
yeah. So then I was like, oh God, I way overshot the runway because like I wasn't fully hungry to begin with. And that's when you get into like real
confusion.
Yeah. And so like I drank loads of water and peppermint tea and I went for a walk and I did everything I could to kind of get my body back online and get the onion taste out of my mouth. And I kind of couldn't. And then see, it really pisses me off because you're left in that eternal state of fullness. So like I get my clients to rate like 10 is full, 0 is hungry.
Yeah.
And the day was passing, the hours were passing.
You just didn't want anything.
Yeah, I had something like 4 hours of calls, starting at 2.
Yeah.
And I still wasn't really hungry. But I went to Fields and I got an orange and a Twix.
Toasted sandwich.
But like, but that was kind of topping up too. And I was like, oh, this is so annoying. But then I was very lucky because I had 4 hours or 5 hours of calls and got out of Ludgate and drove to Bantry and just sat in the sauna and sat in the jacuzzi for a while. Like I didn't do any exercise. But that span of time was enough.
I know.
For the hunger to build again. And then I went into Super Value and the whole world felt right again. Because if you walk into a supermarket hungry, you're like, oh, I forgot how amazing pineapples are. Pineapples exist, you know, and you're like, carbonara? Like everything looks good. Whereas when you're in that constantly fed state, like you'd be like, maybe that would be yum, and you get it and it's like meh.
Not. I know.
And then everything's just meh.
I know.
And that's why it's kind of like, you know, I remember I had a client one time and she was like, I don't know why I worked with her, to be honest, because she actually said on the call, she was like, you know, the world she lived in, basically in her belief system, she was like, I don't think there is anyone who's a healthy weight who doesn't diet every day. Oh, wow. And I should have left her at that, to be honest, because if you don't even believe...
That was a fact in her head.
That was a fact in her head.
Wow.
She's not aware of all the people who genuinely don't give a shit about nutrition and are a healthy weight, which there are many.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to be on her radar. But, you know, the longer I'm kind of doing this, the more I know that, like, people who aren't focused on weight loss, you know, that's not their focus. But they can't be arsed missing out. Like, as in, you know, I wanted to be open and available to whatever we might eat today.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be still really full from last night.
Yeah.
Like, that for me would be pain, not pleasure.
Yeah.
You know?
It's more of a self-care thing, you know, a self-love thing that you come from now instead of a self-sabotage.
And instant results.
Yeah.
Like, as in, people are always, when people think about weight, well, then it's always way down the line. So it's like, I can eat all of this and feel gross and then go for a walk tomorrow. Whereas if you're focused on instant results, you're like, I want to feel nice going to bed.
Yeah.
Whatever happens tomorrow, but I want to feel good going to bed. And that's an instant result.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's
I don't eat past 7. I don't eat sugar. I don't need, you know, all of that. You know, and like then you'll have a nice sleep, you'll feel nice going to bed. But really what our conversation has kind of shown me is becoming aware of your mind and your thought process around food consumption, how you feel in your body, your own body's messages is key, you know, to actually finding a weight or a place that feels comfortable for you to be in this body. Yeah.
And the other thing is the understanding that there is difficult difficulty in changing your thoughts and changing your mindset, isn't it? Like I think people need to be ready for that.
Yeah.
That it's not a walk in the park. Like I had a client yesterday and she was like, I'm trying to say nice stuff to myself, but I don't believe any of it. And
this is Louise Hay stuff again. Like, you know, you'd look in she call it mirror work, and you'd look in the mirror and you'd say the nice things and you just burst out crying because you're like, it's just the belief again. It's linked back to the mental, physical, emotional. Like, you know, the mental belief is tied with emotions. You know, so when you bring out the positive, she always used to say it's like cleaning out a dirty turkey pan.
I remember you saying this.
When you like start to give the positive affirmations, it's like you're scrubbing all of the dirt off, but the big chunks,
and it's a lot of work. You know, there's a lot of work ahead of you,
and there's big chunks of shit that come out. You know, like big chunks of emotion, big chunks of a reaction. Yeah, because that's stored in the body. You know. Yeah,
and the other thing is though as well is that like, because I think I've mastered, and I'm very proud of what I've done with my own mindset with food and weight. Like I never ever thought I'd be a person who says, you know, I have a good metabolism, or I can eat whatever I want to not gain weight, or I eat whatever I want whenever I want. Like, as in, they're all statements of facts now. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And they would have been literally like reject if I had said them, you know, years ago. So as in, things can change with practice. But as good as I am in this area, I'm fecked in many more areas and doing the work in those areas. And I remember, like, it was just a week ago or something. It was, I don't know what it was. It could have been my academic limiting beliefs about my academic abilities, basically. And so I, you know, I heard my mind saying like, just leave me alone, I want to be negative, you know, about it. Like I didn't want to look at it from another angle. I didn't want to put a positive spin on it. I just wanted to say I'm a shit student. I'll always be a shit student. Everyone in my class is totally different to me. Of course they have it easier, all the victim stuff. Do you know what I mean? And then I was like, wait a second, Aoife. Like, for whatever reason I thought of this. I was like, you know, the two rowers in Skib, Gary and Paul. I was like, do you think there was no day that they didn't want to turn up to training? Yeah. Do you think they like hopped out of bed every morning and wanted to train? Do you think there was literally never a hard day of training? It's like, to train you need resistance. Like if you go into the gym and you lift feathers, you're not going to get stronger. So as in like, pushing against our old beliefs is important and it will reap rewards, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Yeah. Like it doesn't mean it's easy to turn your back on a statement you've said your whole life. Like, I'm prone to weight problems are in my family. Like, you know, that feels like your DNA. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But like, anything can become untrue as well, you know?
That's really powerful. And so the work you do with clients now, would you do hypnosis sessions with them as well?
They have like access to a members area where they listen to a lot of recordings.
Really cool.
And then I think then I have my Happy Hypno Weight course, and I'm getting a lot of positive feedback on that, because like I said, I don't think people have instruction on how it could be lovely. People's only association with being slim is diets, misery, restriction. Yeah. Like I said, they're forgetting that there's a whole world of people who are healthy and they're not in pain trying to be. Do you know what I mean? And we forget about that world. So sometimes it's kind of almost like I'm painting that picture for my clients. I'm like, this is what we're setting up. This is what we're walking into. This is why you don't need to like sabotage or reject anything, because where we're going is nicer. You've been in the pain. The pain was the weight gain. The pain was the disordered eating. Letting go of it will be the pleasurable part. Yeah. You know?
That's so lovely. Literally taking the weight off.
Yeah, exactly. And people say that all the time. Yeah. So will we wrap it up?
We can wrap it up.
We wrap it up and go to the parade, put you in the front of it.
Yes, my Queen's throne is waiting. But yeah, super. Aoife, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for being here and being so amazing. Okay, thanks everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you soon again. Mwah. Hey, so that was the last episode of Series 2 of the Happy Weight podcast.
I hope you really enjoyed this series. I'd love your feedback on it. What was your favourite episode? So you can DM me or comment in my Instagram page or contact me in any way you want. So yeah, keep in touch. Follow me on Instagram. I might be starting group classes very soon in my new office in Cork. You can come in person or you can join in via Zoom. It's going to be a lot of fun and I really hope to empower and help people. So thank you so much again for listening. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you soon. Mwah.